Call the Common Council meeting of Wednesday, August 12th to order. Let's call the roll to make sure we're... Oh, wait. We're Pledge of Allegiance first, then we'll call the roll to make sure we're all back. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance, everyone. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, now the roll. Thank you.
Alderman Strelchak?
Here.
Alderman Tlako?
Here.
Alderman Meyer?
Here.
Alderman Hancher?
Here.
Alderman Bach?
Here.
Alderman Parrish?
Here.
Alderman Bratt?
Here.
Alderman Gebhardt?
Here.
Mayor Nervin?
Here. First up, we have a public hearing, ordinance 2026-1694, an ordinance amending the city zoning map from B5, R1, R2B, C3, and OA to R4, PUD, C2, and land use plan from industrial, residential 5 acre, residential 1 to 1.5 acre, and critical environmental to residential 1 acre and critical environmental for a residential neighborhood consisting of 87 single-family lots on 107 acres for the property located south of 10303 Bear Road and north and west of 10007 Bear Road. Recommended by Planning Commission on June 22nd, first reading at Common Council last month on July 14th. Is there a motion to enter public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of entering public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in public hearing. We do have one resident registered so far that wishes to speak. Dan Armburst of 7146 West Ridgeview Court, Mequon, Wisconsin, opposes and wishes to speak. Please come to the podium, sir. Time limit's 5 minutes, but yeah, we don't strictly enforce it, but try to keep it at. Thank you.
Mayor, members of the County Council, my name is Dan Armburst. I'm speaking as the owner of GMI Solutions. We're located adjacent to this proposed development. I'm also speaking as the founder of Dual Technologies. Mac wants some recognition there. We move on that for a lot of card. I'm also a Mac owner, and I would respectfully deny this rezoning, or at a minimum, please defer the vote. The central justification for this proposal is that the property has no industrial future. The record does not support that conclusion. Legitimate industrial buyers have pursued this property, including cash buyers as well as myself. However, they were not willing to sell at the time. A seller's refusal to sell their land is not evidence that industrial demand does not exist. That's just their right. The city's own history makes the proposal reversal even more concerning. In 1997, a mayor-appointed Road Committee voted 5-2 to preserve this property as industrial because it had been industrial zoned since 1958. This was governed by a legally binding industrial development agreement and represented part of Mequon's limited remaining vacant industrial land. I went around and looked for some industrial land for us to find out today, and I found 5 acres adjacent from Dodgers Bay Road. That was all that was left. That conclusion was nearly 30 years ago, and industrial land, as I just mentioned, has not become more plentiful since then. It's been developed and converted to other uses. The remaining inventory has only become more important. If Mequon considered this scarce industrial land in 1997, when more undeveloped land remained available, what evidence supports concluding that the city can afford to lose it today? The city did more than preserve the zoning. It expanded the sewer utility district and granted expanded access to the private sewer system specifically to make the remaining industrial business park viable. The owner himself argued that removing the sewer restrictions would allow the property to attract desirable businesses in Mequon. The sewer concession was part of an exchange of conditions. The amended agreement restricted Bear Road access, required access to Enterprise Drive, and other restrictions. The sewer authorization applied to development within the business park, and the engineering determined was based on the projected business park loading and not 87 homes. This matters. The recorded agreement expressly binds heirs, successors, executors, and assigns. It also said the developer is not released from this obligation. That matters because the private lift station, interceptor, force main, water system, fire protection, infrastructure, easements, maintenance responsibilities were developed with that in mind. The city's own attorney in the past stated that the mechanical risk and expense of the private ejector system rested with the developer, who was responsible for maintaining, repairing, and keeping it operational. Before the city changes that system use or assumes its ownership and future liability, council should know who legally owns it, the successor is responsible for it, what the easements permit, whether residential service is authorized, and whether any of those obligations were even ever formally released. Finally, if private industrial development has moved too slowly, why has the city not evaluated acquisition of this land? A TIF district. Infrastructure assistance was land. Or active industrial marketing before permanently surrendering this employment land. Do not rezone first and investigate later. At a minimum, defer the vote until the city publicly completes their covenant, successor obligation, utility capacity easements, public costs, and economic development reviews. Once the land is rezoned, Mequon cannot get it back. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here this evening who wishes to speak? Okay, please come up to the podium, state your name and address so the clerk can read it into the record.
Sorry. My name is Jackie Jansen. I live at 3333 West Riviera Court in Lac de Coeur subdivision. My family owns the 107 acres on Bear Road. I grew up in Lac de Coeur and bought my family's home 13 years ago. I see many similarities between the Bear Road plan and Lac de Coeur. The minimum lot size in Lac de Coeur is a 1/4 acre. And I see that the Bear Road plan has more than 1/3 of an acre. I like the clustered conservation development concept that also includes a few large lots to the south and then an expansive open community area with a natural setting that interconnects the nature preserve with plenty of paths. And this also reminds me of where I live in Lac de Coeur. It was a wonderful place to grow up with all the green spaces. And it's now been a wonderful place to raise my 3 girls. I also wish to address the memo from Alderwoman Kelly Talaco. I read the memo, and the high density in Lac de Coeur has not compromised property values. The high density lots are desirable, and they do sell very quickly when they hit the market. The value of my home has more than doubled in the last 10 years. I get real estate letters all the time. They want me to sell my house to them because they have a lot of people who want to move into Mequon and they want to be in our neighborhood. Similar to Lac de Coeur, I see the Bear Road plan to be a very walking-friendly neighborhood. I like the fact that it's near many parks and is very close to the interurban bike trail and within walking distance to schools and the city center commercial area. I would be inclined to live there, and I would encourage friends and my adult children to live there as well. There are other high-density subdivisions that are highly desirable here in Mequon, and they have large community open spaces. Contrary to the memo's conclusion, I believe the Bear development preserves Mequon's character, value, and high desirability. Thank you for your consideration and approval.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, please come up to the, yep, you in back. Yep, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. Oh, I can take that too. Or Kim, you got it? Okay.
My name is Diane Kockelmeyer. I live on 10258 North Bear Road. I am wanting to speak tonight because I believe that the card that we received in the mail is intentionally misleading. It said that it would be converted to 1 acre properties and critical environment. And as we know from looking at the map, those are not 1 acre properties. I think if everybody saw this map, it would be a different story. So in fact, the planned unit development mixes lot sizes, allows for a minimum 10,000 square foot property, which is 0.23 acres, less than a quarter acre. It means that you don't have to have standard rules regarding the building setbacks, lot sizes, and property lines widths. I bought my house on Bear Road because it was a rural road, and the companies that were there do not change that character the way this subdivision would in the northern part of this section. I believe that putting this development all together with the 3 sections is very misleading, because then they can use the southern parts to offset the high density in the northern part. I did not want a high density neighborhood when I bought my house 25 years ago. A lot of the people on Bear Road have lived there more than 25 years. My neighbor is 2nd generation in his house. This is not what we had in mind. I liked the light industrial idea because cars are there, they leave. It's not a lot of children playing, I'm sorry, children, but it's a whole different thing than this. So I think that if people knew what you have there, it would make a difference if all the residents on Bear Road realized this, as opposed to the very misleading 1 acre lot size that we were told. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Hello, I'm Tom Jansen and reside at 11631 North Grace Court. I'm president of JPJ Corp., the owner of the 107 acres. JPJ Corp. is a family-owned business. I grew up in Lac de Coeur subdivision, where my siblings and I grew up. We love the close-knit neighborhood and the community of open spaces at Lac de Coeur. As the city is well aware, there's very little interest in businesses moving to locations outside of the interstate highway business corridor. Over the last 25 years, we did not receive any acceptable offers for business uses. That includes the GMI offer that offered to acquire just a few acres south of their property, which would have inhibited additional development in that corner. So it was not an acceptable offer. Thus, we shifted our efforts toward residential uses. In the late 1990s, the city had a subcommittee. Note that the Current B5 zoning of the property could conceivably accommodate over 1 million square feet. It is not rural, as many people would view the area. It is not a rural area. During that subcommittee meeting, the residents in the area expressed an interest in residential use of that property. Recall that Miller Marriott and Newman Development and others came to us and came before the council here as well as the Planning Commission since the early 1920s, or 2020s, excuse me. Also, the city's community development department also sought rezoning of the property. All of those prior concepts had significantly higher number of dwelling units that were proposed. Our current proposal has significantly reduced the density to 87 dwelling units compared to significantly higher concepts earlier. So I ask for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak? Going once, going twice.
Mr. Mayor, just for the purpose of the record, on the dais this evening, there was also an email from Dan Abendroth that everybody should have had the opportunity to review.
Has everyone read the email we received? I think we were all copied over the weekend. And the clerk has included it in the record. Thank you for pointing that out, though. Does anyone else here this evening wish to speak? Hearing and seeing none, is there a motion to close public hearing? Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor of closing public hearing, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are out of public hearing and back in regular session, and will now take up this matter for consideration. Is there anyone who wishes to kick off the conversation? Alderwoman Talaco.
Thank you, Mayor. As everyone is aware, I did write a memo that I wanted to share my opinion prior to this, because I'm quite passionate that this is just the wrong use of the land. As elected officials, we share responsibility to act as the objective guardians of Mequon's master plan. When our community participates in citywide surveys, they provide us with clear benchmarks for growth, highlighting a unified stance against high-density subdivisions that compress lot footprints beyond historical local precedents and compromise neighboring property values. Our role is to ensure that development requests fit clearly within those established local benchmarks, rather than adopting municipal frameworks to accommodate variances that overextend our infrastructure. There's several things that are just too much that doesn't work on this plan. We just went through a citywide survey to see what our residents want, and they spoke, and they showed up. And if we go back in history, those sentiments have been the same for a very long time. This proposed development is asking us to compromise our standards, to give a variance that we didn't even give to the downtown district in Mequon for smaller lot sizes, and compress this land that has been zoned for a very long time industrial. While I'm not completely opposed to changing and considering residential here, I do oppose the amount of density and the small lot sizes that are proposed here. I think that when I hear that they're like, we're trying to offer houses that are affordable, there's nothing that we can do to impose that to make sure that that happens. From a city standpoint. And in the history, when that has been used as leverage, those houses go for market value. So there's no way that there's going to be a $350,000 house on this quarter-of-acre lot when the market doesn't deem it to be that. So what I see here is a developer trying to put as much as they possibly can on this land, and then on top of it, ask us as elected officials to go against what our residents truly want, which is at a minimum half-acre lots to 1-acre lots. And I think that we all need to object to this tonight and have them come back to the drawing board with a more reasonable plan of what our residents want and what we were elected to uphold. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to opine? Maybe I'll start some discussion. Go ahead. No,
You want to go?
go ahead, Alderman Hancher.
This business at Industrial Park started in the 80s, and it developed part of it, and then it stopped. And so there's no development. So you have this area of land that hasn't been developed. And there's not businesses that are willing to invest in that. Now, if you look on the west side of Mequon, just across the borders, you have Milwaukee building business industrial parks, and you have Germantown building industrial parks. They've got them there. And the reason why they have them there is because it's near the freeway. So in the last 3 years, they've built several business parks that are being filled up. Again, because it's the freeway. The reason why, in my opinion, that hasn't happened in that area is because it's not near a freeway. It's not a very good location for a business to, industrial business to have. They're all over on the west side. So we've been very cautious about changing to the residential. We've had 2 plans prior that was struck down because it didn't meet our requirements. So this time I feel the plan is sufficient enough to meet the requirements. Now, all this talk about lot sizes being, it has to be a half acre. The problem is that in the 1970s, that wasn't the case because I live in Huntington Park. In Huntington Park, no homes are less than a half acre. I mean, they're all less than a half acre, excuse me. They're less than a half acre. Most of them are a quarter. Most of them are a third of an acre. Home values haven't gone down because of the size of it. In fact, they've gone up. I have a new neighbor 2 months and next door to me. The house that he bought, it's gone up in value a lot in the last 3 years. So I don't get this thing about the size of am I in a bad neighborhood because I have a less than a half acre? Am I in a bad subdivision in Mequon? I mean, to me, I don't understand that. If the homes are built with quality, and in this case, there's going to have 56% of the land is natural. It's going to be a natural area that everybody can use. To me, it serves a purpose of drawing in people into Mequon. It has now functional use where people can actually use the nature and walk the nature paths. But this whole idea about, okay, if it's 0.25 acres, it's bad. But if it's 0.5 acres on a house on it, it's good. And somehow the neighborhood my neighborhood must be really bad. That's the feeling, that's my opinion when people talk like that. Is that the size of my lot determines whether I am a good, if my life in Mequon is good or bad. I don't get that. I tell you, there's people that live in my subdivision for over 50 years. They were the first ones there, and they still live there, and they love it. We have wonderful new families that are coming into our subdivision. They don't have big lots, but that doesn't make the quality of their life any worse. So I'm going to be in support of this because I think we've seen that businesses haven't been attracted to it. We rejected 2 housing developments already, and so if we're going to reject this one, then I don't know what are we going to do. Are we going to wait around some more? I don't know. That's the way. And you know, when people say, "Well, I don't want to have," it's a terrible thing to have. Then you're saying that about my neighborhood. I take offense to that. So.
Alderman Strelchik.
I'm going to swing the pendulum the other way. I'm in District 1. We've got 5-acre density. And we've got significantly larger lots. They're huge. I got a ton to mow, and it's, you know, it's hard to maintain, but it's nice. It leaves that rural character. I'm going to highlight the fact that we had, you know, landowners that lived in not Villota Park. Why am I blanking? Lac de Coeur, where my grandparents lived. Great community, fantastic. Honestly, when I chose to buy my house, I didn't like how close some of the houses were to each other and some of the cul-de-sacs. I thought that they were too close. They backed up to each other, and that wasn't the privacy that I needed and wanted for my house. We have different housing stock in Mequon for different people. Huntington Park is a beautiful subdivision. There's great homes in there, and it's great. I think as a council, what we need to take into consideration is the pendulum swung away from the smaller lots to larger lots, and we have standards and policies based on those larger lots. So as we are here today, whether we lived in a subdivision with a smaller lot, I grew up in one with a half-acre lot. It was great. I thought it was huge. I had to mow it. I hated it. It was a ton of work, especially when the rider broke down and I had to hand mow it. It was a ton of work. My main objection to this is that, and I've been pretty consistent all along, good family that owns the land, great builder who wants to build on the land, great developer. They've done some really high quality neighborhoods. If I remember correctly, you've been in Parade Homes, subdivisions as well. So, I mean, you know, this is a good opportunity. If you guys want to outvote me on this, that's fine. I'm still hung up on the predication that this was industrial land, and, you know, if we want any industrial expansion, this is really the last place that we have unless we rezone some things out in my district. As soon as we rumor that we want to expand industrial to my district to get closer to the freeway, my phone's going to ring off the hook. Those residents that bought their houses out in the country are going to be upset, and they're going to ask me the question, why did you vote to have higher density, not a bad subdivision, not a bad neighborhood, but a higher density subdivision where you had industrial zoning before, only to consider industrial zoning by my home? I have no good answer for that. I'm elected to support my district. I'm elected to support the people that live within my district, whether I like the builder or the landowners, and I believe in the work that they do. I have to vote based on what would happen in my district and the pulse of what my district would probably ask for in this case. With that basis, I'm a no vote on this, unfortunately, tonight. And, you know, I have the utmost of respect for everybody in the room that wants to build the subdivision. I think, you know, for the space, it's as well thought out as it could be. But I got to vote and back the people in my district and uphold that standard that was expected, you know, based on our zoning codes. Thank you.
Alderman Bach.
I kind of agree with Alderman Strelchik. I have the high praise for Newman Development, nothing against them. My issue stems with the resident who spoke, GMI Solutions, which is adjacent to this property, mentioned that you know, the company was interested in expanding and moving there. So I have questions about why didn't that happen? This wasn't just once, but maybe over multiple years. And you know, I didn't hear everything, but there's some questions in there, you know, from that owner adjacent to this property. I do think that there's a lot of homes in this area too. I mean, maybe there's some more creative ways to do some with less homes, but I have questions on the expansion there of that. What held up there? Why wasn't that allowed to expand? And what were all the negotiations over the years there, and what happened, and why wasn't that owner?
I'm going to stop you there. Those negotiations are none of our business.
Exactly.
They're well in
Yeah.
the past. So
Yeah.
I don't. I'm gonna pull an audible here. I rarely interrupt, but we have testimony tonight from someone who gave us a new piece of info. We don't know how much of it is accurate or not. And we have discussed this two other times over the past 4 years, and there's been every opportunity to bring that forward before now, the night we're about to vote on the ordinance. I find it a little odd that we haven't heard about it until now. There's been every opportunity, and those that have been on the council long enough remember taking this up and considering it on a concept plan basis those 2 times. So I don't know how much we should put stock in last minute testimony when we've been considering this for some form of this for the last 4 years. And it has gone down in density every time. It came in much more dense in the beginning. And to some points made earlier about city survey, we specifically put this item on the city survey, and there was general public support for residential in this area in those results. So I don't want to muddy the water on that record. Regarding the comment on density, it's a conservation subdivision. You don't look at the lot size and say 0.3 acres is the lot size. The average density of this subdivision is 1.23 acres. It's the 107 acres divided by the 87 lots. That's the net density. We do this many other locations in the city. Those subdivisions have been successful. They've been desirable. To suggest we should have bought the land as a TIF, the industrial TIF was not a very successful TIF. We barely cash flowed positive on that and closed it out with meager dollars in the bank. I don't think buying this prospectively as a city would have been a wise use of city funds. There's all sorts of problems with what was suggested there, fiscally speaking. And we have been looking at expanding industrial land to the west, southwest corner of the city. It's been a policy discussion we've had for the last couple of years that's in the pipeline. And whether this gets developed as residential or it gets developed as industrial 20 years down the road, eventually this land will be gone to, and we'll need to expand for more industrial use because that's good for the tax base. We're well over 85% of our budget funded by single-family homes. It's probably worse now with the market appreciation. There should be a healthier percentage of the overall levy supported by industrial and commercial. It's just we've gone a little lopsided again because home values have outpaced the industrial and commercial areas. So we're gonna need more of that in the future regardless. So that's all I'm going to say. I just wanted to correct a couple things and add additional color. And with that, I'll open it back up for more comment. Alderman Parrish.
Yeah, I just felt like I wanted to kind of add on to what the mayor was saying as far as the historical perspective here. Again, the Economic Development Committee studied the Southwest Corridor. They played by the process that we set forth, which is that we will reconsider this area becoming residential if the council is open to activating industrial in the southwest corner of Mequon, which for the public's knowledge is the corner of County Line and like Granville Road, between Granville and Swan. So, I mean, it is closer to the freeway. Good points you brought up there. I do think it would be fine as industrial the way it is if this parcel was left as industrial, but I think that ship has sailed, guys. We've had a lot of discussion about it, and I don't think we necessarily need like the southwest side or this side, and I thought we kind of came to a consensus on this. Now, the density is a whole nother question, and I get what you're saying, and I'm actually not ready to state how I'm going to vote, so I'm going to put my vote up in the air right now. I thought Alderwoman Talako's memo was terrific. Having been on the Planning Commission, I don't recall seeing like an alternative concept plan. So, I mean, if there was 50 houses that could go on this entire site, to me, that's the best of all worlds. So regardless of how I vote tonight, whether it passes or no, if it fails, I guess my message to the current property owner is I stand behind the process and what I've said publicly, which is I'm open to this land being residential as long as we activate the southwest corner for industrial. They go hand in hand. I get what you're saying about the net density. When you factor in the cluster, it ends up being over an acre. That's true, but again, this is really two different developments. So 20, 30 years from now, they're not going to know this was two different developers. By the way, I appreciate that the original plan didn't have this connection road between the north and south, so I was a hard no until they put that in there. I still hate that little outlet in the corner between lot 34 and 54 going back to Enterprise Drive. I don't think we should be connecting, and no cars can go through there, but I just don't think we should be encouraging back and forth traffic. So, I'm not in love with the plan. I stick by what I've said in the past. I may vote no tonight, and if I do, it doesn't mean I'm not interested in seeing this develop further into residential. Thank you.
I'd just like to clarify, it never came before Planning Commission before. It came before this body as a consultation hearing, either in council or committee of the whole. I can't remember which. But
what did I say that you're clarifying?
Well, there is a comment made that you don't recall it coming before Planning Commission before, and that is correct, but that's because it came before this body for consultation hearings 2 other times.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we've seen it. Yeah. 2 other times, and it's gone down in density each time.
Yeah, and the prior, and I said this at Planning Commission, this is by far the best design we have seen. The other designs were horrible. There was like apartments and duplexes and senior homes and just everything you could throw on it. This is, what we're seeing here is respectable, but it does feel very inconsistent with other developments. All these garages are forward-facing, and I mean, there's things about this that are not apples to other subdivisions. But I do, in my mind, want to work with these developers. They have a lot of work. They have the best product by far to date. I hope they don't go away even if we vote no tonight. I want to keep working on it is kind of where I'm at, but I'm going to let my colleagues finish exerting their thoughts, and maybe we could vote soon. So.
Alderman Meyer.
I'll try to make it brief on here. I'm not a fan of the design. I like the southern half a lot. The northern half, I'm not a fan of it. Surveys don't support this type of density. So, and we send out the surveys for a reason. We send it out to find out what the residents want inside of our city. And they spoke pretty boldly about it and saying that the types that they want. Now, they did say they wanted residential inside of that area, and I do agree with the mayor. They came out very clear inside of the survey, but it also came out very clear inside of the survey that the size of the housing and that the residents would like to have, would like to see. And because of the fact that somebody comes before us, a developer comes before us 1, 2, 3 times, maybe 10 times, doesn't make any difference whether or not we accept a proposal on the amount of times the person brings it into us. It gets approved on the fact that that's something that, we think is going to be a benefit for the city, something that is going to be, a benefit for the community as a whole. And, I take a look at this and I struggle with the fact of, all the garage doors facing the roads. I mean, the only reason that's there is to put more homes inside of the lots. That's the only reason. And I don't default the developer or anybody trying to get more money out of the property. That I definitely don't. But So look at that, having the doors facing that all the way, all the time, and the fact of doing that just because of the fact they increase the amount of homes that you can have on an area. And I just don't agree with that. And you know, the fact of the matter that, some people say the fact, well, it's got all this open space and everything, a lot of that is just required because it's not buildable by any means, shape, or form. The wetlands aren't buildable, all the, floodplains area, all this stuff is just not buildable on side over there. So does it meet the classification as conservation subdivision? Yeah, it does that, but it's almost like forced into doing that because of the fact that all these other stuff is just not developable whatsoever. And let's kind of put in that classification so we can get this development built. That's all I've got to say about it, but I'm not going to be in favor of it.
Looks like Jack has brought up the survey results in case anyone wants to reference them. So there's a distinction between, was it half-acre lots and 1.5 to 1 acre lots? Slightly more supportive than 1 to 5 acre lots, but there's no option on the survey that perfectly matches this scenario, so you have to do some mental extrapolation. Alderman Strelchak.
Yeah, just highlighting the zoning doesn't match the survey. The way that the zoning is, it's lot sizes in the survey, so the lot sizes to the north aren't even surveyed and aren't part of it, so I would go closer to maybe the townhome support on something like that.
I would agree, but they don't match, but it's hard enough to explain this concept to the average resident in a survey, and then you throw a planned unit development for a conservation subdivision and no one knows what you're talking about. So it's
harder.
That's why those options weren't on the survey. We talked about that when we constructed the survey. Alderman Bratt.
Yeah, so thanks again for coming back. I remember seeing previous alliterations of it. I live in Lac du Coeur. This has some of the features of it, but it's also lacking some of the amenities that Lac du Coeur had. And I understand why they're not in here. There's no lake, there's no swimming pool, there's no bald eagle living in the trees. I'm not opposed to residential development in this area, but I think this is the wrong policy way to do it. I'd rather take a systemic look at converting this through the zoning code and a broader scope and looking at other areas versus just doing this as a one-off zoning change. My question is, and I don't know if you can answer, like how many of the lots can you fit if you meet like the half an acre lot size versus what you have? That's just, it won't change my vote, but I'm just more curious. Like if it's 73 lots, what would that bring that down to? I know it from a.
I would guess the seven. My name's Steve.
Yeah.
I would guess the 73 lots would turn into 40 lots.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Alderman Gebhardt.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to go through the comments that I made when we had our meeting at the Committee of the Whole, in which we had a really thoughtful and productive discussion amongst all of us in terms of what the next steps were on this particular project and whether or not it was worth the effort of continuing those discussions. And from what I gathered or remember, certainly, there was general support to go ahead and move this project forward with some conditions that this body had brought up in terms of certain changes that they were looking for in this property. And from what I can tell, those changes have been accommodated in these revised plans. I'm a little bit surprised to hear the sentiment and the strong sentiment that I am from this group, because I feel like we may have led somebody down a road to spend additional time and energy on something that maybe we're backtracking on. And I just think that sets a really bad precedent for us in the city of Mequon in terms of we need people that want to come in here and continue to do thoughtful developments, projects, what have you. I think this definitely checks that box, multiple boxes. I supported it generally the last time we had this in-depth discussion, and I'm going to support it again tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Alderman Gebhardt. On that note, I found the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting is March 10th, 2026. I'll just read one paragraph from the minutes. Mayor called for several straw poll votes from the committee members to provide city staff direction. All members agreed that some of the residential planning is appropriate for the site. 6 out of 9 members indicated they would allow for 10,000 to 13,000 square foot lots in the northern subdivision. That wasn't that many months ago. You know, I'm not saying you have to change your vote. That's what happened. That's in the minutes. At the Committee of the Whole, if you don't like it, just say no and don't lead someone on. This is right out of the minutes, which we subsequently approved. So, 6 out of 9, I don't know how it's going to trend tonight with the vote, but 6 out of 9 said they'd support this. We put some modifications on there. They added some of those modifications and came back to the plan here. I just want to make sure that when we give people feedback, we're giving them the real feedback and aren't just waiting to change our mind later. And I'm not saying anyone is, but 6 out of 9 doesn't feel like where we're ending up currently. But echoing those same comments, people come here, they negotiate in good faith. We gotta do the same.
Make a motion to call the vote. No, I make a motion to call the vote. No, there isn't?
Someone can propose a motion to approve or deny. Unless anyone else wishes to speak. Alderwoman Tlacco.
Mayor, thank you for refreshing our memory. And, I think sometimes the discussion is led by somebody that kind of makes you kind of think like you need to change your vote sometimes. I think that the development brought before us, turning it residential, I'm not against, but I think it would be better suited for 40 to 45 more custom homes. It's a transitional place in Mequon. We have a rural character, that is Mequon. What separates Mequon from Cedarburg, from Port Washington, from you name the communities, it is having open space and land. Our residents do want that. I think that you can do a thoughtful development in this area still, and I would love to see a plan that would accommodate that to make a better transition. Telling me that, they're 1 point whatever acre lots when however many acres are not buildable to begin isn't doing anything for our land. Our land is what separates us. It's what keeps our wildlife, which makes us a bird city, which people love coming to us because of it. So I think that tonight it's, I make a motion to deny this, and I would like you guys to come back and still negotiate and see what 40 to 45 custom homes look like. And I think that you would get overwhelmingly unanimous approval and be able to move forward.
I appreciate those comments, but that's the feedback that should have happened in March.
I disagree.
Oh, no. You can disagree, but that's my opinion. Alderman Gebhardt. I thought I saw you raise your hand.
You did.
I think it's unrealistic to expect that any business person is going to come back to this committee if this is turned down tonight based upon the feedback from our last meeting. And they went back to the table and followed what we asked them to do and delivered on that. I think if you think that this process is just going to continue out and they're going to cut half of the homes, that isn't going to happen. If they could have done it, I'm sure they would have gone ahead and done that, and that wasn't part of our discussions the last time. The other piece, we talk about this area, this conservation area, right? As it stands right now, that area is not usable by anybody other than the people that own the property. That now opens up this area to be used by others and enjoyed and appreciated. So those are just my follow-up comments.
Mr.
we'll go
Mayor,
with the
yeah,
applicant
may we
first
make
here.
a statement as the applicant, please? So I guess we'll say, we're home builders. I mean, one thing that we go around to every municipality that we go to is to talk about the housing crisis that we're in. You know, there is a massive shortage of housing of all sizes, all lot sizes, all housing styles across our region. And it's even more prevalent in desirable places like Mequon. So when we look at developable parcels, you know, the very few that do remain, we have to get creative. We have to be economical because the market forces that to happen. So when we look at a parcel like this one, you know, we see it as what it is. It's a transitional area. This is not typical Mequon. I grew up near here as well. I didn't grow up in Mequon, but this isn't typical Mequon. This is a transition area, and this is where stuff like this is meant to happen. You go from industrial to small lots to larger lots. There's demand for all of it in a strong way. And I can sit up here and say that if the direction is make it all half acre to an acre lots at $1 million plus houses, it's not going to happen. We're not going to do it. It's not economically viable. It works perfectly in the 14 lots on the southern side of this, and that's what will come there. But that works there because there's a transition area of different types of housing that does work. So, you know, we took the feedback that we got, we took it to heart, we made the necessary changes to incorporate all the buffer areas to make the lots 13,000 square feet, you know, to incorporate the trails and the public benefit to the entire area. We're dedicated to conservation, we're dedicated to improving the area, but this is what it looks like. And this will be very successful. So we'd love to move forward with this as it's drawn.
Go ahead, sir. Yep.
I'd like to make sure that we look at this in the right perspective. The JPJ Corporation, the Jansen family, has followed the process and has been very patient. I feel we've been misled in this whole process, spending tens of thousands of dollars over the last 35 years that we've owned it, paying over $600,000 in taxes. Okay, we pay $25,000 in taxes for a property that should be allowed to be developed, either industrially or residentially. The construction costs for a road, sewer, water, asphalt has more than doubled in the last 10 years that we've been looking at this as residential. You have to have economies of scale. I feel stabbed in the back because I've talked to some of the members here previously. They've publicly stated, okay, a little more buffer, you know, they don't have a problem with residential. We've accommodated those concerns. The neighbors, let's face it, Bear Road, the residential area is non-conforming. The homes along Bear Road are zoned B5. All right, so they're not conforming, but they're allowed residential use there. You're not going to have custom estates along this area. It's just not that type of area. It is not a rural area. It looks rural because the city has not allowed us to develop this. It looks rural. I've been before this council and the plan commissions. Mr. Mayor has probably seen me numerous times. I think you have the longest tenure on the council here. I'm a resident of Mequon. I have two other siblings that are residents of Mequon. It'd be great to have this tax base. The infrastructure exists. There's sewer and water there. To have people pay the user fees for the water and the sewer, it's to the benefit of the utilities for the water and the sewer. I don't know what more we can do. I don't know what this council is trying to convey to anybody that wants to develop in Mequon. The hurdle has just, you keep raising the hurdle. We've expended tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Our prospects here, we have an accepted offer. I didn't get an accepted offer, or an acceptable offer from GMI that at the last minute have wanted to acquire the property. The sign has been in front of their office for years. They haven't approached us. Oddly, all of a sudden, we make this proposal and they come out of the woodwork. That's not acceptable. We've had inquiries with.
Closed.
I'm
This
sorry,
isn't,
but
no, this isn't a
I'm getting
debate.
attacked here.
This isn't a
I'm,
debate.
I'm
Please,
getting
sir,
attacked here.
You had your piece, they get their rebuttal, but this is not a
Well,
conversation.
he had his chance to talk. He has chance to talk already.
No, public comment is closed.
But
This
he's
is for-
public comment.
This is
I'm
not,
the
he's not
applicant.
He's
the
making a
public, he's the
public
applicant.
comment about an
Sir.
offer that we had.
Take your seat, please.
So again, just to conclude, this is not a rural area. We've tried the best we could to bring in industrial users. We've had nationally renowned real estate brokers, industrial brokers, without much success. We've competed against the TIF district of the business park for years. We could not compete with the subsidized industrial park. I think this is based upon a template that has worked in other areas, as cited, Huntington Park, Lac de Coeur, the old Ville de Park. We've had proposals of people wanting duplexes, quadplexes. You have to have the density for the economies of scale to make the economics work. We're not going to, our family is not going to require, we're not going to recoup the investment that we put in this property over 35 years, the taxes that we paid, the engineering, legal fees, et cetera. What you're communicating to anybody that's listening to this, that the city of Mequon is closed for business. It's difficult to work with. I'm trying to be patient. I'm a little bit at wit's end. I would sincerely ask you to reconsider this. This is the absolute best plan that I think has sought a compromise for the community, for the neighbors, for our family, as well as the developers. Please reconsider. That's all I ask.
Any last comments, or we have a motion with no second on the table, or someone could make a competing motion that could get a second. There was a motion made to deny, I think by Alderwoman Talaco, that no one seconded. But someone could make a motion to approve. It's just voting for the inverse. Okay, there's a second to the motion to deny. Alderman Strelchak.
Yeah, that wasn't a unanimous straw poll vote. 9 people voted. Mr. Mayor, if you voted in favor of it, it was a 5-3 vote, so it was a split decision, pretty close to being able to go the other way. I'm going to politely comment and respectfully comment, you do a really great job of running a meeting. You do a really great job of getting consensus and gathering things. And then sometimes just to keep the meeting moving, which you absolutely need to do on some evenings, you'd be like, hey, we'll see the plan when it comes and you'll have an opportunity to vote on it. When people are hesitant to cast a vote one way or another. A straw poll vote is not a vote with a plan. A straw poll vote is not a vote with, that you're going to move this forward, but it is a pulse check, and I agree. If we gave a pulse check as a council, we should, seriously review it and look at how we voted that night. I'm going to say that, being a dissenting vote here and one, that's not in favor of this, I feel moderately attacked for a differing vote where I don't support it based on the people in my district. And I'm told that, we're being stabbing people in the back. And I just don't think that's appropriate when we're talking about this stuff here. I just simply disagree. I disagree for concrete
Well,
reasons that
I
back my
think you
people in my
disagreed last
district.
time, but
And the straw poll was a split vote. It wasn't a unanimous vote.
I agree. But
So we have the
we
plan
have to-
before us
I'll-
and we're able to vote on it tonight.
I'll say this, we can agree to disagree on this. I don't care that we disagree.
Yeah.
But when people come here and get feedback to go forth and revise concepts and come back, we're giving them hope that there's a yes at the end of the tunnel, and they're going to go off and spend the tens of thousands of dollars they did to try and get there. All I'm saying is when we do that in the future, get all the feedback out on the table so that they can come back and get a yes. The nature of this conversation has shifted since we saw it at Committee of the Whole a little bit.
Yeah.
Not from everyone, some of them inconsistent no's, I think you were one. But in general, that's our responsibility as a council, not to drag the process out.
The feedback that I gave to change my vote was to have less lots abutting up to the industrial building. And there's still a very large cul-de-sac with the same portion as are on the larger acres.
I agree, you have been consistent on this. I'm not saying you weren't.
All right, great. And I think people, if they see the plan and they've heard the discussion, can choose to vote how they choose. But I don't think we should place judgment on them for having a differing opinion.
Well, the
It
plan
feels
is
like
not
that tonight.
substantively different
It's
than
starting
last
to
time.
feel like that as a trend a little bit more than it has in the past. And I'm respectfully going to ask, just that we listen to what people have to say and we vote accordingly. And that's what we'll do tonight.
I'm just saying we should be sensitive in the future and get all the feedback out.
Don't forget, this went before the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission approved of it. So it's not something that hasn't been looked at for a long time.
Planning Commission's a different governing body.
I understand that, but when I went back and I looked at the video of the Planning Commission and listened to the comments and the feedback, I got the impression that the majority, it was 4-1-1, the vote was that they agreed with it. So when I look at the Planning Commission and they've exhausted and studied it, I have confidence that they've done their due diligence. But then we go as well, and then we did that. At Committee of the Whole, we gave them direction. Now we're saying it isn't good enough, and I agree with the mayor that you can't. If you didn't want it, then they should have said no, we don't want it. But now we've led them to believe that this was a project that would be acceptable. It went through the Planning Commission. They made the changes, and now we're saying no, we're not going to do it. So and the other thing is, I keep on hearing about how bad small lot sizes are. Again, I live in a subdivision like that.
Nobody's judging you.
But it is, because you're saying that, people are saying that if you have a lot size of 0.525, that is horrendous. And I'm telling you, I live in Huntington Park. We have very similar, it's very identical. And we have in the southern part, we have a nature area with a nature trail, just like they're going to have, they're proposing. My across the street neighbor, their lot's small. That doesn't make my subdivision any less of a desirable neighborhood. In fact, it's more desirable because more young families can move into it. In my subdivision, there's a lot of young families, and the reason why is because they're more affordable.
Yeah.
And now I'll flip around.
And there's like but it's like $500,000 homes though. That's affordable now. My neighbor just bought a home for my new neighbor who's early 30s, $589,000.
I wasn't done talking.
Point taken.
so-
I think this body does reserve the right to overturn any planning commission decision too. So
Right.
just because they approve it doesn't mean we have to. So I'll argue the reverse of my comment on the Committee of the Whole one. But we are the Committee of the Whole. We are the council. So that's a little different. It's the same body with a different name. So I think we've had enough debate. We have a motion and a second for denial. So if you are in support of denial, you vote yes. If you're against denial, you vote no. Just to clarify, please call the roll.
Alderman Strelchek,
All right.
Alderman Talaco, Alderman Meyer. Alderman Hancher. Alderman Bach. Alderman Parrish.
No.
Alderman Bratt.
No.
Alderman Gebhardt.
No.
4-4.
No. That just means it's not denied. It doesn't mean it's approved. Well, it's a tie. I voted no to denial.
You voted no.
We can make a motion to approve it.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-1694.
Second.
Motion and a second. Let's call the roll again.
Alderman Talaco.
No.
Alderman Meyer.
No.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Bach.
No.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Bratt.
Aye.
Alderman Gebhardt.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchak.
No.
4-4.
Aye. Good luck. I hope it works out. Moving on to personal appearances and public comment. Citizens wishing to address the council on any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. If you desire to be heard on the agenda, you may be heard when that item is considered on the agenda. Please speak into the microphone. Time limit is 5 minutes. Is there anyone here this evening who wishes to speak on any matter not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to public officials' reports. I have nothing this evening. Mr. City Administrator? Nada. On to the consent agenda. We have various meeting minutes of boards and commissions and staff reports, as well as 2 resolutions. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We have no other ordinances this evening. We have 3 resolutions. Resolution 4303, resolution approving the reallocation of $182,500 in funding received through the American Rescue Plan Act. This was recommended earlier this evening by Finance and Personnel. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Alderman Meyer. Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Bach.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Bratt.
Aye.
Alderman Gebhardt.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchak. Alderman Talaco.
The ayes have it. On to Resolution 4304, a resolution approving an award of a contract for the installation of municipal Wi-Fi security cameras and keyless entry systems at Rotary Park, River Barn Park Pavilions to Advanced Technical LLC of New Berlin, Wisconsin, in the amount of $147,544. It's a recommendation coming forth this evening from Public Works.
Public Works approved of it, so I'd like to make the motion to accept Resolution 4304.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a second. Any comments or questions on this item? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Bach.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Bratt.
Aye.
Alderman Gebhardt.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchak. Alderman Talaco. Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
That 2 is approved. On to Resolution 4305, a resolution amending City of Mequon Financial Policy Statement Number 3, Reserve Requirements, and establishing Policy Statement 20, Sewer Utility Reserve Requirements. This was recommended earlier this evening by the Sewer Utility District Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 4305 is also approved. We have no specified unfinished business from prior meetings. We have no specified new business. We do have a potential closed session, Guerrero versus Mequon. The Mequon Common Council may convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 Prin 1 Prin G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as deemed appropriate. Is there a motion to go into public hearing?
Move to go in public hearing.
No.
Oh, what?
Closed door.
Closed
Oh, I mean
session.
closed session. I'm
Did I
sorry.
say public hearing?
No.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, we can have more debate on it.
No,
but
no,
yeah.
no, that's right. No, that's right. Motion to go in closed session, I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Well, I mean,
We need to take a roll call vote for this? Okay, please call the roll.
Alderman Bach?
Aye.
Alderman Parrish?
Aye.
Alderman Bratt?
Aye.
Alderman Gebhardt? Alderman Stralchuk? Alderman Tlaco? Alderman Meyer? Alderman Hancher? Mayor Nurbin?
Aye. I do not anticipate we will be coming back from closed session, so we'll adjourn the meeting there. Good night.